Did you know that in South Carolina, a fully working train was dumped into the ocean? Or that a massive billion-dollar energy project failed because of electricity itself? And wait until you hear about the $483 million supercar that ended up sinking beneath the ocean waves. Yeah, today we're talking about some of the most expensive mega projects that completely flopped. Projects that started with sky-high ambition and ended in disaster. Billions of dollars gone, just like that. Let's dive into these jaw-dropping failures. And trust me, you won't believe how bad some of these got. Let's start with this strange-looking train. At first glance, it might seem cool, futuristic even, but behind it is one of the most spectacular project failures you've probably never heard of. This train was the dream of a French inventor named Jean Bertin. He wanted to create a next-generation train, one that wouldn't run on traditional tracks, but would instead hover 3 to 4 inches above them. The result? A high-speed vehicle called the Aerotrain, which could reach speeds of 430 kilometers per hour. That's over 260 miles per hour. Sounds impressive, right? Well, here's the problem. Because it didn't run on regular train tracks, an entirely new track system had to be built across the country just for this train. That made the whole project insanely expensive and nearly impossible to scale. And just when Jean thought he had a shot, the French government approved a new high-speed train called the TGV, which worked perfectly on existing rail lines. The Aerotrain? Dead on arrival. The government dropped it completely. And with that, Jean's ambitious, futuristic project became nothing more than a fascinating failure in transportation history. What were thousands of luxury cars doing underwater near Portugal? If you ever go driving near Portugal's coast, you might spot the rusting remains of a massive sunken ship. But this isn't just any wreck. It's filled with Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Ferraris, Porsches, and Mercedes, all now resting at the bottom of the ocean. Back in February 2022, a cargo ship owned by the MOL company was transporting brand new luxury cars from Germany to the US. But during the journey, a technical fault caused a fire on board. The rescue team saved the crew, but they couldn't save the ship. With nearly 4,000 vehicles on board, the ship eventually sank, taking down $483 million worth of luxury cars. And the ship itself? That was worth another $240 million. The company took a massive hit, but while researching this story, I saw footage of those cars underwater. And no joke, I almost had a heart attack. It still hurts to think about. Have you ever seen this giant dish-shaped structure on the island of Puerto Rico? If not, let me know in the comments, because we need to visit this place together. This was once one of the world's most powerful space telescopes, built in 1963 to study distant planets, stars, and galaxies. It was a multi-billion-dollar project, and at the time, it was the largest single-aperture telescope on Earth. For decades, it worked flawlessly until tragedy struck. In 2007, a massive storm caused heavy damage to the structure. The US government stepped in and repaired it, temporarily saving it. But in 2022, the telescope's central platform, which hung above the dish using steel cables, suddenly collapsed. The cables snapped, and the entire platform came crashing down, destroying the telescope beyond repair. Now, this once iconic piece of scientific history is completely useless. So, who's still down to go check it out with me? Drop it in the comments. Let's go explore the ruins of what once was a billion-dollar marvel. When we talk about airplanes, we usually think expensive, right? But what if I told you that billions of dollars worth of aircraft are now just rotting away like garbage? Welcome to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona, also known as the Boneyard. This site was established in 1946, and today it's home to over 4,000 decommissioned aircraft, from passenger jets to military planes. Some are damaged, others are simply outdated, but all of them have been dumped here like scrap. The total estimated value of the aircraft lying here? Over $34 billion, just baking in the desert sun, collecting dust. It's wild to think that something once worth millions now holds the same value as junk. But hey, that's the life cycle of machines, even the ones that once ruled the skies. Hold on, just look at this place. At first glance, it looks like there's been a massive car accident out in the desert. But nope, this was all intentional. In Nevada, deep in a remote desert, someone tried to create a unique tourist attraction back in 2011. They took 40 brand new cars, crashed them head-on into sand mounds, and arranged them like an art display. The idea? Turn the desert into a bizarre Instagram-friendly hotspot, but here's the twist. No one came. Not people, not birds, nothing. The project failed badly. They were probably trying to compete with Dubai's flashy desert tourism, but at the end of the day, a desert is still a desert, no matter how many crashed cars you park in it. This massive metal wall-looking structure? Yeah, it was one of the Soviet Union's most ambitious radar projects, and it failed disastrously. Built in 1972, this radar array stretched over 23 kilometers and stood over 500 feet tall. Its purpose? To detect incoming missiles from over 2,500 kilometers away. For a while, it worked. until 1986, when the entire structure exploded without warning. The Soviets tried everything to fix it, but the damage was so extreme that Russia still hasn't recovered from the loss. Not only did the explosion wipe out the project, it also devastated everything within a 2,500-kilometer radius. Today, this area is considered dangerous and illegal to enter. A billion-dollar dream, now just a metal graveyard in the middle of nowhere. Let's talk about our own country, the United States. Back in 2002, a massive project was launched off the coast of Charleston, South Carolina, but it turned into one of the strangest and most disappointing failures ever. If you go diving there today, you might spot something shocking: an entire train sitting underwater. Sounds crazy, right? Why would anyone sink a train into the ocean? Well, this was part of a multi-million-dollar plan to create an underwater tourist attraction for divers. The idea was to turn the site into an artificial reef by planting ocean vegetation, sinking structures, and even providing food to attract marine life. But guess what? Not even the fish showed up. The train sank, the plants didn't thrive, and marine life never came. The site remains abandoned and one of the most bizarre megaproject failures in our US history. At first glance, this bizarre structure in Moscow looks like alien technology, but it's actually a high-voltage research center built back in the 1970s. Known as a Marx generator, it was designed to simulate lightning strikes and study how powerful electrical energy affects objects like airplanes. The goal? To understand how planes could survive a direct lightning hit. But there was just one major issue: no lightning, no power, no money. The facility required massive amounts of energy to operate, and keeping it running was insanely expensive. Despite costing billions to build, the project completely collapsed and was eventually abandoned. Today, it just sits there, slowly rusting under the sun, a strange and haunting reminder of one of Russia's biggest megaproject failures. That's end. But if you think that was impressive, think again. There are tattoo artists out there who create hyper-realistic ink so detailed, you'd swear it's not even a tattoo. Ready to see the most mind-blowing tattoo art on the planet? Then click on this video, and yeah, I'll see you there. Stay safe.